Okay, we're live.
Hello.
Hi. Uh, I'm Kristin Eggerling with the Northwest Minnesota Arts Council. I'm the promotions specialist. We have an artist spotlight today with Gary Stegman, who is a retired or retiring art teacher. Um, and we want to talk about our current student art exhibit, but we'll talk about teaching art and Gary's art and some other things. So Trey, if you want to introduce yourself, and then you could introduce Gary. And
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Trey Everett. I'm the showcase specialist. And so that just means I work with the gallery, Northwest Minnesota Arts Council Gallery, which is in Thief River Falls at Northland Community and Technical College. And the current gallery is our student gallery. And these are art pieces from students from all over Northwest Minnesota, including some of Gary's students. And it's currently ongoing. It started in the beginning of June and it will go through the end of this month of July. So please, if you haven't seen it, stop by. It's an amazing gallery full of all kinds of beautiful artwork from students from kindergarten up through college. And we just had a reception just last week, but please stop by anytime. The college opens the gallery during college hours, which is Monday through Friday. In the summer, it's Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5, I believe. And then Fridays, they close at noon, just so you know that. But also, Kristin puts a nice online gallery of each gallery, and you can find that on our Northwest Minnesota Arts Council website. And so, yeah, I want to introduce Gary Stegman. I know Gary very well because I live in Crookston. Gary has been an art teacher in Crookston for many years. And so Gary and I have worked together on multiple projects. I've been an artist in residence in the schools for a number of times, and Gary's helped orchestrate that. And I've worked closely with Gary with many of his students. Him and I have done personal art projects together. He's given me advice on a large mural I did a few years ago in Crookston. We made a giant snow alligator together, as well as different projects. So I enjoy spending time with you, Gary, and getting to know you and gathering wisdom from you from all your many years of working in the art field. And so, yeah, you have students that are in this current exhibit, some of their artwork, and you have just retired. So how about if you give us a little summary of who you are and anything you kind of want to say about us, and then Kristin and I will jump in with more focused questions.
Sure. Well, my name is Gary Stegman. I am a teacher. I've taught at all levels. I started my career in 1986 teaching down the road at Twin Valley, not so far away. And at the end of 3 years, I got cut from, I was full-time to part-time. So I went to graduate school and I went to the University of Iowa, was a research assistant there, and I really valued my time there. Then I went to Mankato, Minnesota, and I taught at West High School for a year. And then I got cut a second time. Just a fun little note, they gave me a pink slip, actually. That was something I still remember. And that's what brought me to Crookston. So I came to Crookston in 1992, and I've been here ever since. I've taught here at the high school, junior high, high school. I've taught out at the university for 9 years. Have done worked with elementary students in different places, doing different things, community art projects. So a ton of teaching. And 37 years of marriage minus 2 for graduate school, so 35 years teaching. And yes, I fully retired I turned in my keys just the other day, and that was a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So you tell us kind of a little bit about what it is involved in being an art teacher in the system. How do you, what different areas do you work in with students? Are there uh, it, let's see, how do I phrase this? Are there any areas you stay away from? You're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Or do you just jump in and you teach just about anything that you think the curriculum requires or would like to see?
That's a big question. Did you two take high school art classes?
I did.
Music, not
Music. Okay, so things have changed a lot since those days. When I took art classes in high school, kids that wanted to learn about art things took classes, but primarily a lot of the people that took art classes were people who needed to be put somewhere. They weren't always the best students. You may remember some of those days. And when I started teaching, that's still what it was. I have only taught in the state of Minnesota. And in 2001, Minnesota did some things that I just am still flabbergasted over. They made the visual arts an activity where you could letter. They began competitions. And what those two things did way back then was it brought rigor to the program. It brought a purpose to the program where, that purpose really wasn't there before. And so what I learned early on is to build a program. So what do you want the program to be? And I've never had an administrator that worked against that. They want you to build a program. So that's really what I tried to do as a graduate from the University of Iowa. I took a lot of those kinds of ideas and built that into the program. As a teacher, you set the tone. So what do you want the tone to be? And so that starts with curriculum. It starts with how you deal with students. And so all of those things kind of mixed and blended together. And that's kind of what we did. Art became a more rigorous program in the school. The kids were very serious about it. The administration put money and time behind that. They allowed us to travel, all sorts of things. And so it has been a really nice run in that regard. So I don't know if I answered all of your question there, because go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that when Minnesota did that, it must have totally changed the landscape of the art room and just raised it to a whole new level.
Yeah. In terms of, setting a tone, building a program and that sort of thing, when college and the high school began, kids began to get college credits. And I know, Trey, you have children that have taken college credits in high school. What a big deal that is for parents and families. Yeah. So I have 4 classes that can be taught for college credit. And whether students are taking that elective or not, they all do the same curriculum. The curriculum has only gotten more rigorous, and I've never had a complaint about this class is too hard. Even the art history kinds of things that we do. And so it has really made a big difference. We travel, we look at standards. Everybody has standards in their classroom. In Minnesota, in order to be in competition, you have to make original artwork. Well, let's go back to the art school before. They didn't have Google years ago, but today kids Google a tiger and they draw a tiger and they say, look, I made art. Isn't this amazing? And that is far short of the definition of what art is meant to be. That's just a technique that the kids have learned. So how do you make creative pieces of art? How do you do critical thinking? How do you, so when we talk about building a program, these are the kinds of things that we put together. We have to verify that our work is original. Is it? No, it's not always original. So once the kids figure out what it means to be original and they make creative, original art pieces, they feel so good about themselves. And they don't want to go back to just the mimesis, the copy work that they'd been doing previously. They like the idea of having ideas and putting ideas out there and solving problems. So that's kind of where it's gone.
Is there a way, how do you know if the work is original? Is it just talking with them, or?
Well, that's a great question. So some of my we got to bring technology into this. Years ago, if somebody wanted to Google a tiger, they couldn't. They had to bring in a photograph of a tiger. So National Geographic magazine showed up in your classroom. Okay, so that's where the source material is coming from. That the kids are always looking for source material. You can tell when they're Googling. They take out their phones and they look at it. And we talk about, what it means to Google. And what I tell the kids is Google is a wonderful thing. I use it all the time, but it's somebody else doing your thinking for you. So how do you think for yourself? And, what is the value of art? Well, thinking is a big part of it. I tell the kids, rather than Googling, I know where there's some really cool pictures. That's on the gallery of your own phone. You have never taken a bad picture in your life. And the kids are like, oh, I never thought about that. So, now they have their own pictures, and kids soon become photographers. They begin to take that very seriously. So that's the first step, how you find out if the kid's work is original. And then, when I went to graduate school, we spent a lot of time in museums. When you go to a museum, what are the pictures of? Well, they're narratives and they're iconographies and they're allegories, and there's all these big highfalutin words. I teach the kids what those words mean. Now they want to do stuff. And so if they're doing stuff from their own phone and they're doing an iconography and they have an idea, it's original. It's original. It's their own idea. So it's a 3-part mix that all of their work has, and it's just part of the teaching process. And now the work is original.
So could you say it could be part of this student exhibit is there was a section art inspired by art.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have these pieces of artwork that may be inspiring Michelangelo or different artists that really capture the imagination, and a student can take that piece of artwork, but then they somehow make it their own. They change it, they add to it, and so in that way it becomes an original piece for them.
Yeah. First of all, let me tip my hat to you, Trey. I think that's a great starter conversation for student work. 2 years ago, I had a student graduate. Her family is originally from the Netherlands, mom and dad, both. They met here in the United States. So this girl, she's very proud of her background. And so if she's from the Netherlands, who do you think her patron artist must be? It's Van Gogh. It's got to be Van Gogh. So what she did was she studied Van Gogh. How did Van Gogh do what he did? And so she made a copy of the man in a gray felt hat. And she studied that over and over and over again, trying to figure out how he did what he did. Did he put down a block color and put a few stripes on top, or is it all stripes, or is he using a color scheme? What is he doing? She's asking all these questions. And that was her whole thing, was she just wanted to make a masterwork copy of what he did. Well, the next thing you know, she figured out what she did. And so she made a self-portrait. And so she used her own scheme of colors to describe her own personality and things like that. And that's kind of what a theme like that, Trey, does for kids. They start maybe with just a technique. They want to do a photorealistic technique by Chuck Close or something. So once they learn the technique, for many kids, the technique is the thing. But after a while, it's not the thing anymore. It's the technique. The thing becomes a new question that they ask. And again, Kristin, you asked about creativity, originality. When you get the kids to that point, they're studying horses, they're studying nature, they're studying wildlife, and they're using these techniques that these artists have taught us. And I think if you look at that artwork that Trey is talking about, you'll see lots of examples of that. So when the kids really get a hold of that idea, oh boy, they do some tremendous things.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
Were you the only art teacher in Crookston, or did you have colleagues?
when I started here, I was the junior high art teacher, and that's all I did. There was a high school art teacher. In 2000, the other art teacher, he actually passed away. So they moved me to the high school and hired a new junior high teacher. And that's the trend that continues in our school district there too. So when I was in Twin Valley, I was the whole show. When I was in Mankato, I was part of a team that was wonderful. Most art teachers that are in Northwest Minnesota, they are the whole show, K through 12, whatever their situation is. So art teachers don't talk to other art teachers very often. It's nice to be a part of a team. If you have an idea, bounce it off somebody. That's always very helpful. And again, Trey, when he did his introduction, we've done that a little bit over the years, haven't we, Trey?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's very helpful to be a part of a team. So I've been a little bit of both.
Do you collaborate, or did you collaborate with the junior high art teacher?
Yes and no. I want to remove the word art for a moment. Some teachers are very protective about their turf. And so when they put together a new unit, whatever they're talking about, they're not going to share that with you. That's not going to happen. And that's a thing that you'll discover with a lot of teachers. Others are much more collaborative. When I began teaching in two of the school districts, that was really kind of the mindset. The teachers weren't going to share ideas. And so I had to do everything on my own, which in the end, I learned how to do a lot of things, whereas, a lot of teachers just borrow things from other people and they're not sure how to create curriculum. And so for me, that actually turned out pretty well. When I was in Mankato, we were part of a team and we shared everything. So it's A to Z, Kristin, A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, do you have a favorite subject in the art world that you like to teach?
That I like to teach. You're not going to like the answer to this, Trey. I've been asked a question like that many times, and so one of the questions I get asked is, "Am I a teacher or am I an artist?" Well, that's a hard question, and I've come to an answer to that, Trey. And your question revealed that. I teach kids. That's the answer. So, what material do I teach them? Yeah, I have some favorite things, but I get a kick out of working with kids. I cannot tell you. Every class period, here they come, a whole new group, and getting to know them. And so when you go to college to learn to be a teacher, as a bachelor's anyway, they teach you how to teach. When you go to graduate school, or at least when I went, we learn how students learn, and that changes everything. So you teach as a bachelor, you often teach a whole batch of students, whatever the topic is, and you use the same technique for everybody, and you teach them as a group. I haven't done that in years. I teach individuals. Everything is different. A lot of one-on-one conversations. So the metaphors change from every student. So if a student wants to be a drawing student, I'm capable of teaching that. Maybe they are not a 2D person, they're a 3D person. So I have to change things up. And if I make them do what I want them to do, that doesn't always go so well. So you really get to know the students. So the answer, Trey, is I study people. I study the students. I love to teach art history. Not everybody loves to learn art and history. I love teaching two-dimensional and painting techniques. I just enjoy that so much. Then I learned sculpture and I learned the computer. Now I have a new favorite, and it's been all over the map. But I think in the end, when I look back at it, the way I did it was the right way. You teach individuals. There is a curriculum, obviously, but you teach individuals, you teach kids. So how is that?
Okay, that's great.
Have you found that over the years, students have changed just in the themes they explore, or the art they create, or their needs?
Every generation has said that, Kristin. Plato wrote once how kids are just awful. And everything he wrote was, these kids are lazy and they don't want to think for themselves. And, when I read that the first time, it wasn't attributed to Plato. And I thought, wow, this sounds just like the kids that I'm dealing with. They're not doing these things. But I do think that kids have changed a lot. There's a man named Matthew Lieberman. He was a professor at UCLA who says that tech has rewired our kids right before us. And I think he's right. Having taught before technology has really invaded our lives, things like social media has rewired how we think. When I was growing up, we solved problems. We had to do the math. We had to do the work. And today you Google things. I don't think that people, I just don't want to say kids, but we don't think for ourselves anymore. We let a lot of outside people do our thinking for us, technology do things for us. So I do think that the fabric of kids has changed since that. Well, I'd go into what Matthew Lieberman actually said, but I can just leave it at that. Kids don't think like they used to. I think it's safe to say it that way.
So what does that mean for their art? Like how has their art changed because of that, do you think?
Okay. That's a great question. And I could talk a long time about this. So let's go back to, you want to make art. So when I was going to school and when I first started teaching, art was technique. That's all it was. You find a tiger, you draw a tiger. Oh, look, it looks like a tiger. That's an amazing picture. You put it in an art show, you get a ribbon. What does that say? It really only talks about your technique. What are you saying about tigers? Are you saying that they're extinct? Are you saying that they're powerful? Are you saying that they are beautiful? Or what are you saying? And so what I want the kids to do is figure out, what do they really want to say? When I taught at UMC, we talked about critical thinking skills. I asked dozens of people, what does that mean? And only one person actually knew what critical thinking was. Do you know what higher order thinking skills are? They're the top 3 of the 6 items from Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, so how do we get our kids to that level? Okay, so that, just saying that there's definitions here, that puts curriculum into place. What you want the kids to do is state the problem. What are they saying about tigers? They don't know. They don't know. They really don't have any idea. You ask the kids, how do you solve a real difficult problem, a life issue, whatever it may be? And, they'll flip a coin, they'll Google it, but they're not always able to actually solve that problem for themselves. So I make the kids state the problem. That's one of the steps from critical thinking. And once they do that, it's like the clouds open up. All of a sudden, their brain is like, whoa, okay, I could go this way, I could go this way, and they start to, and then they, rather than you teaching them things, they start to ask questions. Well, now whatever you teach them is what they're inviting that education to come in rather than me imposing it on them. It changes everything. So what do you want to say about that tiger? What do you want to say about nature, whatever it may be? So nature is a great place for me. I love nature. I love to travel. I love to look at things. I grew up on a farm. We had animals. Let's talk. Do you have a dog?
Cat.
Do you have a cat? Tell me about your cat.
Tell you about my cat?
Yeah.
She's adorable. She's very loving, but she's fierce and feisty.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to draw a picture of your cat. What color is fierce and what color is feisty?
Yeah.
And you drop a few of those colors into your cat. That's called chroma. And it tells you about the personality of your cat. So you can talk about how to make your cat look realistic. Maybe you change it to an abstract technique so that the personality is part of your cat now. So when you teach the kids these kinds of things and ways of thinking, it just opens up everything. Right now, you're thinking about what color is your cat, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I'm like, huh. Yeah.
Yeah. So I tell my kids, take out their phone and Google color psychology. And then a bunch of click on images. They're actually posters, and it says, fierce. What color is fierce? What color is royal? Your cat think it runs the house? Is there a little purple in there? Does purple fit your cat? Those are when the kids hear those kinds of things, all of a sudden, they can accurately state the issue, the problem that they're trying to solve through their art. And then it goes to competitions and it goes to galleries, and those are the things that people see. So when you look at a picture of a cat that looks realistic versus a cat that has some of these other colors in it, it makes you wonder what's going on. It gets much deeper, much more quickly. So that's what we do.
Yeah, that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
What? So Gary, excuse me, over 35 years of teaching, I'm sure you have changed a lot as an artist, as a person, as a teacher. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, oh boy. I've never been asked that question before. I have to really think about that. When I was younger, I was pretty naive. I met a few people and they told me what goals in life are. And I pursued some of the wrong goals in life. I think I would probably talk about that. I've taught in a very small school district. I've taught in a huge school district. I've taught in a district in the middle. And I thought that, that tells you who you are as a person. What I didn't realize was that kids were in all those classrooms, and every one of those kids mattered. And maybe I didn't see it that way years ago, but I see it that way now. Bloom where you're planted, we're told that, except for nobody actually does that. I think I probably would have looked at life a little differently and through that lens, maybe. No, that's a good question.
How about advice for someone who's just starting out as an art teacher?
We'll remove the word art again for a
Right.
moment and just put the word teacher in there. Teaching is about relationships. The first thing you want to do is not tell them how much you know about math or history or art. You just want to get to know the kids. And like I said earlier, when I just started teaching kids and I would tell them this amazing curriculum that I knew about, they didn't care. But once they were drawing their cat and they wanted to make their cat have personality in it, okay, now they found out what they didn't know. And that only happened through creating a relationship. And now what you teach, the kids are ready to listen to. So, yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Okay. I know you do some of your own personal artwork. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Art you do outside of the classroom?
Well, I haven't done enough of it, Trey. When I was a little kid, there was not enough cardboard in the house. I would take cereal boxes and I would, if we had a snowmobile, I would make a cardboard snowmobile. I would make, a combine, a pickup truck, whatever it was. And I've never stopped doing that. So I try and create what I see in the world through the materials that are around me. I grew up on a farm, so the land is important to me. My dad was a cabinet maker in the winter, so wood was very important to me. I did a lot of wood carving growing up, and I would try and capture, the world that I lived in. So I've done a ton of that. I think maybe in retirement I might want to return to that a little bit. But I guess to get back to some of the things earlier, just solving problems. Art was not the thing. Solving a problem, whatever the issue was, and using art to do it. So if my art is going to be made, it needs to be utilitarian. It needs to serve a purpose if possible. So that's kind of the direction that would probably go. I love to draw and paint. I enjoy it all so much. 2D, 3D things. I don't know. I'm kind of getting away from your question a little bit, though. But
No,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's great. I mean, excuse me. I think about, you drive around Crookston, you can see your artwork, on the back of the Grand Theater. You did that many years ago, this huge mural. You've got the artwork you see around the high school, the metal sculptures, the metal work on the outside of the building. You've got the old Wayne Hotel ceramic mural. I'm not sure what even you would call that, but you've created that and installed that, and an amazing piece of artwork. And so you have all of these, the UMC big M on the outside of one of its buildings. You can see when you're coming into Crookston, you've got all of these amazing pieces of artwork. And to me, that's something that's happening so everyone can see. It's outside of the classroom in a way, and I don't know if any of those were really personal projects for you, but I just think about pieces like that.
Well, every one of those projects had a different purpose. I did not set the purpose for a lot of those pieces. Somebody else did. And so that's maybe what makes it utilitarian. I want you to imagine for a moment that ceramic tile thing. Somebody could decide to put that in their home in a smaller scale. I made one using Northwest region funds years ago for Riverview Hospital, and they're advertising their hospital services. So those are the icons that went into the actual piece. And so all those pieces that you mentioned, the purpose was set by the entity that we're working with. And again, that brings a utilitarian purpose. And so now that art becomes more than just technique, it is marketing. It's, that's what the university wanted, was marketing. Mm-hmm. So those are the partnerships that I'm looking for in terms of creating art.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about the student art in this exhibit of your students?
Well, so you're catching me a little bit off guard because I retired. I'm trying to remember which pieces are in there, but I have a pretty good idea. So I can single out a couple of students and some of the things that they've done. Oh boy, we're combining different ideas. So I've been teaching halftime for the last 2 years, and I've been partnering with Sue Dufo. She's going to be the high school art teacher. So she and I are sharing students and purposes and things. And our kids did really well this year in terms of competition. And one of the students was Frankie Torvinen. Frankie she does a lot of things. She paints with me. She's a photographer with Sue. And I think one of the pieces that you're talking about, Trey, is a photography. And so Frankie is Native, and she also has some issues going on in her life. I guess I don't want to delve too deeply because it's her art, but Uh, all of these things add up to what we call icons in art. So she carefully chose some of the icons that she put into the photograph to put these ideas out there, and she used some depth of field techniques with her photography. But those are one of the pieces. One second here, my sister is calling me. Yeah. So yeah, that happens, doesn't it? Okay, so back to the idea. Frankie, she made this competition work, and so that went into the gallery. I have another student named Emily who is an amazing watercolorist. She went to a competition at Moorhead State, and she won a nice prize. I thought that she would put that piece into the other art shows, and she said, nope. I already knew that one, so I don't need to test that thought anymore. I want to try all these other new ideas. And so, I was pretty impressed that she's just constantly putting new ideas into her mind and exploring these things, trying to figure out how to do all these new ideas and putting them into competition and seeing what judges think. And so those are two pieces that are in there that I'm thinking of. I'm very proud of them. And then I have a couple of students who they're younger. They just had the opportunity to try competition. So that was their time in their Trey. So you may remember those pieces. So
Yeah.
I think I may have covered all of them. Is there a particular piece that you would like to talk about, Trey?
I didn't have, yeah, maybe Trey knows of pieces.
No, I was thinking of Frankie's piece, and then she has another piece.
Oh, yes. Okay. All my heart and soul. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that, all right. So I will talk about this one. Frankie comes from a broken home, and there are several brothers and sisters, and all of them at a certain point in time had to be adopted out. So she doesn't live with her brothers and sisters anymore. And so she learned this photorealistic technique to paint, and she painted a heart. But in this heart, there are things inscribed into it. You have to look really carefully. So their names and their words. And so that's her connection to her brothers and sisters that she doesn't live with anymore. And so she kind of hides all of that stuff in there. And then AMHSA, all my heart and soul. It's a little code word that she and her family, they kind of share. And so what she's doing is she's telling this whole world that this is who I am. Mm-hmm. So, it's a heart. It's a lovely thing. She uses chroma. We talked about her color, use of color in there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was a tremendous piece that she did. Yeah, that was a painting. So yeah, the one photography and the one painting. So
it's nice when you walk in, you can see it on the far wall. And there's a lot of really nice pieces from Crookston, from your students, as well as some evocative works from other students in other schools and different parts of Northwest Minnesota. So,
yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. So one of the things I'd like to talk about, you haven't asked, but, and I wish I had a picture that I could share with you. We hired a new teacher named Autumn Hansen. Autumn actually student taught with us back in 2001. And Autumn was telling us at the time how when she was doing practicum at another school, students that did this and that and the other thing, they earned a tile in the ceiling of the art room. And I thought, whoa, before she even finished, that idea got adopted. So Trey has been in the art room before. The kids get bricks. If they spend a certain amount of time or if they achieve a certain thing, they get to make a brick. So think of a cinder block brick in a public building. That's how big it is, 7 inches by 13 inches. And they get to put all these things on there. There are 262 memories that I have from teaching on the art room wall. And all these kids are putting who they are or who they want to be, or they're passing advice on to kids. I take these bricks and I turn them into questions on art exams. So they have to choose a brick and then they have to talk about whatever the issue is. And, talking about pieces that are in the gallery, the art room has become a gallery, and all of the, it's like a Hall of Fame, you might say. Just stop and think about how many 260 bricks are. And the kids, they walk into that room and immediately it's the kids' room. It's not my room. And they're learning and getting advice from those students. So, you have that gallery, and in about a month, Trey, it's going to be taken down in the art room that gets to stay up all the time. So
Yeah.
It is a gallery. And the kids they understand the purpose of a piece of art, and they're doing that through their bricks.
Yeah. Yeah. I love I love the classroom. Maybe I shouldn't say your classroom, but I love the art classroom, and I love seeing art classrooms in various schools. And your classroom, like you said, you can look up on the wall and just kind of take a while and stare at all of the different personalities and the lives represented in these bricks on the wall. It's really cool. Do you know if that tradition is going to continue?
If Sue Dufo is not going to do that, the kids will revolt against her. When a freshman walks into that classroom, a lot of them are pointing up at the wall saying, I'm going to have a break day. It's going to go right over there. And so she's already got a bunch of kids lined up waiting for their turn. So yeah, that will happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And one more thing about the classroom. I think the refrigerator is a great talking point. Can you just mention that?
Oh boy. I'm going to get in trouble. As a teacher years and years and years ago, we all had bulletin boards. I hate bulletin boards. They're just a lot of work. They serve a purpose. And so I had done a graphic arts job for somebody in the community. And when I was done, they said, so how much do I owe you? And I said, I don't want anything. Well, about 3 weeks later, the principal called me into his office and he said, I got this check from this community member. What's this about? And I told him I did this graphics job and I didn't want any money. Well, they wrote a check to the school and they said, you can't have this money. And I said, well, I wasn't looking to be paid for this job, but he said, the money, we got to figure out what to do with it. Do we put it into the general fund? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Can we use it somehow for the program? And he said, well, you can. So I had always thought that refrigerators at home are bulletin boards, that, you just put a magnet on them and walk away. You don't have to cut a border and all that stuff. And so I talked to the metals teacher, and his students built this giant oversized refrigerator. It's huge. It's got to be 4 feet across, 7-8 feet tall, and it's a fridge. The freezer on the top, the main part on the bottom, it's got weather stripping, it looks like on the edge, and I paint it up so it looks like a refrigerator, and we just hang stuff on it. So the menu for the school is there, and if kids do a really cool thing in their math class, sometimes they put their math test on the wall, or we just use it for 1,000 things. And so we made this refrigerator. Well, in the meantime, Trey, here's the part of the story that maybe you don't know about. We had a pug mill that needed to be replaced, and there were some safety issues, and OSHA come walking through, and we had to get a new pug mill. Then a year later, they said that pug mill was not safe enough, and it was just kind of a little disaster. And I told him, nope, that pug mill is 100% accurate. And I told him why that was accurate, because I did my research, and I made him mad. So he come walking out of the room, and he's looking for a frayed cord or something. And he walks up to that refrigerator, and it's welded shut. It doesn't open. It's 3 inches deep. And he tries to open it up, and he can't. And he notices that there's not a key on that refrigerator, because a student could climb in there and the door will close and they'll die. And there's a hazard right there, and they're going to write us up. And he's as mad as can be. And all of a sudden he realizes that this is a fake refrigerator. He thought it was real. I felt pretty good about that for violations. But the kids have always loved that refrigerator. So it's a big giant bulletin board, and the whole program uses it. But it looks like a fridge, doesn't it, Trey?
It does. And it's just, like you said, it's just this thick, right? It's just kind of adhered to the wall. Yeah. But it looks like there's a fridge there. And
the kids grab the handle and they put their foot on the wall and they're trying to open this fridge and they can't. They're convinced there's a can of pop in there or something. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with that. So
that's good.
Yeah, and it's still there. So I was going to take that with me in retirement, but I was kidding. It's still there. So
do you have any advice for students who maybe don't think of themselves as artists or with artistic skill?
Again, that's a huge question. So artistic skill, there are some people who say you have it or you don't. And there's a small element of truth to that, but a lot of these skills can be taught. And, you teach the kids those skills. And so they see that and now the door opens and they can move forward. But again, what a lot of the kids are really missing is relevance and purpose. And so I try and get the kids to answer those questions first. And once they find relevance, once they find purpose, then, if you say the word art, are you talking about being an artist? Are you talking about being a teacher? Are you talking about selling? Are you talking about being a part of the institution? And there's a lot of things you can do. And so, once you figure that part out, then a lot of the rest of the path is revealed for the kids. And so that's what I would ask them. What do you want to do with the word, with the art? What do you want to do with yourself? So I have learned that if you have two interests, whatever they may be, all you need to do is find out where those two intersect down the road, and there's a career. So I try and show them that. So I am interested in horses and art. Okay, so down the road, are you going to work for a textbook company? Are you going to be a photographer? There's a combination of those things that show up down the road. So we talk about those kinds of things all the time, actually.
But how about just creativity in general in their lives? And maybe it's not in their career, but being open to exploring.
Yeah. Kristin, I want you to imagine that you want to open a restaurant. Okay. What is on your menu?
You mean more specific than food?
Well, are your burgers the same as Trey's restaurant hamburgers? Why should I go to your restaurant rather than his? And so we talk about this to the kids. This is where creativity is important, because this is an old metaphor, but when Twitter was maybe a bigger deal, I would ask the kids, are there more tweets or retweets on your feed? Well, probably 70, 80% are retweets. And so then I'll say, all right, I'll come up with a statement and I'll repeat it 7 times. And I'll say, that's what retweets are like. I am sick of retweets. Don't tell me retweets anymore. Tell me new information. That's what you want your menu to look like, correct? And so how important is creativity? TikTok, somebody does a dance step and then the next 100 videos are copies of that. Okay. I don't want to hire all those I want to hire the person who made the original dance step, whatever it may be. So that's where creativity comes in. So what is it that you want in your life? What is it you want about your restaurant, about your TikTok video, about whatever it may be, that's different from everybody else? Because I am hiring that person. I don't want to hire all the retweets. And when the kids figure that out, they start to think about, all right, how is my work different? What can I do to make it different? And then we start to change that from art to they want to work in the ag industry. Okay, so how is your equipment different? How does it fill a niche? There's your transfer. So you learn it in the art world, but then it transfers to wherever you want to go. I am going to have a surgery. How can I have a less invasive surgery? Okay, can you solve that problem for us? So whether you're in the field of medicine or education or agriculture, how can you come up with a better idea of doing whatever it is that needs to be done? And I believe that the kids, they learn that through the artistic process. But what they don't always do is you need to tell them, okay, so now apply this to what your interests are in real life. I have, as a teacher, 5-10 years later, once in a while you bump into a former student, and almost all of them, that's what they say. They say, I never realized what you were talking about in the classroom and now they're in this new area. And I took that idea and I applied it with my new idea. And now this is happening in my job. And that's really cool. And I just am really proud of that. So how do you take these ideas of creativity that you learn in the art room and transfer it to other places? And we talk about that all the time in the art room. So.
Okay, great. Well, I'm just aware of the time, Gary. Before we kind of bring this to a close, is there anything else you want to mention that we didn't ask or didn't talk about?
Well, I have my little list of things that we were going to talk about, and we talked about a lot of them. For me, sharing ideas with the people that are listening, I really would want to reiterate, art is an amazing career. It's an amazing thing, but that's not the issue. That was never the issue. Who are we as people? I believe as a teacher that we don't know. We really don't know. Critical thinking, all those things we talked about earlier. How do you state the problem? How do you state whatever the issue is? So if you're going a direction, do you know what direction you're trying to go? Before you spend all that money and capital and time, and you don't know where you're going, let's save you some time and money. So these are the kinds of lessons that we try and teach in the art room, beyond just skills. So, do you want a career going this way or that way? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Are you, what do you want to do? Is there a problem you're trying to solve? Those are the issues that I would want to talk to people about before they make those decisions. And again, working with kids over the years, I think we've lost that. A lot of kids, they just are told they have to go to college and they don't know why, but they're just going to do it. And they just kind of shuffle along and they don't really always think for themselves. They allow other people to think for them. That's where the rubber meets the road. And that's what we do in the classroom. And those are the conversations that I was hoping that we would have today. And I believe that we did. So yeah, it's if you look at the art room that I retired from, my name is not in that room. I made sure that my name was never in that room. Whose name is in that room? 262 students have bricks on the wall. That's who it's about. And we often have pretty big egos about who we are, and we're just one piece in that larger puzzle. So let's do our job. And so those are the kinds of things that I would have hoped to have talked about today, and I believe that we did. And if that message reaches anybody out there, that's great. So
Good.
Okay.
Trey, do you have anything else?
No, I just want to, reiterate, we're very grateful, Gary, that you had time to share on this spotlight and, and just personally for all the interactions we've had over the years and for you teaching my kids and you teaching me as well. When I'll be in a dilemma and I'll think, what would Gary Stegman do? Let me give him a quick call. So I appreciate that. And then I just want to say our student art exhibit, it's ongoing until July 26th. That's the last day that it's open. I'd encourage people to stop by and take a look at it and just take in all of the talent from the kids in Northwest Minnesota.
And, you know, when you say that, there is one more thing I just want to say, and that's a thank you. Kristin, Northwest Minnesota Arts Council, all the things that that organization has done for the school systems, for the arts programs. And if you open that up to all the things that that Mara has worked with over the years, what a big thank you. So many people need to just throw your direction. I need to make sure that I do that publicly in a format like this. Thank you for your support over the years.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being an awesome teacher and all the impact you had in our region while you taught.
Yeah, I love it. Wouldn't have done it any other way.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Good. Well, thanks. Well, I think we'll end the broadcast unless there's anything else you want to say.
Nope, I think we covered plenty.
Okay. This will be on our website later today. So if anyone's listening right now, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a good day. Have a good summer.